Welcome to the Apotheosis of You, the show that empowers entrepreneurs by bridging the gap between knowledge and action.
We're your hosts, Sal and Saida, and on today's video, we review step 10 of Lopez's 67 steps.
Lopez has been a wonderful mentor. He has read a book a day. He has done a TED Talk and mastermind with the greatest successes on the face of the planet. And then he has compiled his learnings, his knowledge, his philosophies into 67 steps, 67 frameworks to what he calls the good life. We are going through each step one by one and making these videos to highlight the takeaway points. We are on step number 10, which is called Stoic versus Epicurean, Arnold's 1000 reps, Apache cold showers, and the Spartan whipping post. Why you have to develop thick skin.
So I want to start this episode by reading this quote by Will Durant. A nation is born Stoic and dies Epicurean. So what does that mean? Ancient philosophers, they were divided into two different groups. One group was Stoics and the other one was Epicurean. The Stoics, they sacrificed today for a better tomorrow, and the Epicureans were the ones that lived a YOLO lifestyle, meaning they thought that they might die tomorrow, so why not enjoy the life today?
And then for the one person that doesn't know what YOLO is, it's you only live once. That's the acronym that got popularized by Drake's song.
And the modern media is actually advocating this in Drake's song, as he said earlier. They do say you only live once. There's
a restaurant called YOLO.
There is a restaurant here in Fort Lauderdale that is called YOLO. So they are trying to make us mellow and try to make us not think about tomorrow. That's
a good point. What you're saying is that society is shifting to more of a Epicurean sort of philosophy, whereas the quote mentions that nations are born Stoic, and near the end of that nation they reach an Epicurean sort of philosophy. And so that's saying something deep about our society as it currently stands. And things need to toughen up real quick for us to have longevity. We can see that by the fact that the United States has had its prestige rank, but now other nations are exceeding them in just about every respect: technology, education, and the things that really matter, even healthcare. Other nations are taking the lead because maybe the United States gotten comfortable with having been in the lead for so long. There's also a quote that best captures this. It says that success has ruined a lot of great men. And what that means is that many people do not know how to handle success. They get comfortable, they get weak, they get soft, they pick up the YOLO mentality, they're becoming Epicurean, and they end up losing what made them so successful. That's why when you pursue something you're passionate about, and it's not about the money, it's not about reaching 1 million, you continue the journey even after you reach the financial success, financial numbers. Now, he talks about ways in which we can become more stoic, ways that we can toughen ourselves up a bit. What are some of those ways?
Well, it's instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs. Instead of driving to the supermarket that is not that far, you can walk there and carry your groceries in your hands instead of pushing it in a cart or bringing it in a car. And there's a lot of ways we have convenienced ourselves.
The cold shower, right?
Yeah, even the cold showers.
Which is something we can practice.
Yeah, actually, from my own experience with that was when I went to Colombia. They didn't have hot water one day, and I wouldn't go and wash my face and start my day because there was no hot water.
She was held hostage by cold water,
exactly.
Essentially. So that's.
So I have gotten very comfortable with having everything at a very easy access.
Mm-hmm. I think we all have. We live in a first world society, but the thing is, if we want to live a normal life, we can go ahead and tap into these conveniences, but that's not going to create anything extraordinary. Extraordinary comes out of doing what is uncomfortable, doing what's out of the way, going above and beyond these comforts and conveniences, and that's what leads to success. So realize that these conveniences have a very lulling effect, and we have to be cognizant of that and shift our mind into, okay, this is making me weaker, this is making me softer. And I love this quote that Stoics, or he mentions about the Stoics. Stoics are people who believe in sacrificing the now to get something better in the future. And so realize that people who are future oriented tends to succeed because they are working towards a bigger goal, not spending their last dime or spending their time as if tomorrow does not exist, as if the consequences of tomorrow are not real. So great nations and great businesses are built by people who are willing to sacrifice present luxuries for future benefits. It takes great people to build businesses and nations, but once it's handed to a person that may be more YOLO oriented or more Epicurean or soft, it tends to disintegrate. A good example of that is if I think Paris Hilton, for example, is one of the heirs to the Hilton name, and so you can imagine
one of the heirs, you said?
Heirs, like that means like to. I think it's H-E-I-R.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not errors, which some can argue that she is an error, but that's besides the point. Ty mentioned something about Paris Hilton, so it's not even me. You're trying to put words in my mouth, I see. So the fact that someone or the previous generation might have built a great business, once it's handed to a person that might have not lived the tough life or have that mentality, and they just want to spend the wealth that was created, that tends to disintegrate the empire that was built. So the question that we all need to ask ourselves is, how soft or how comfortable are we?
Have we gotten?
Exactly. And so we need to some random things that he mentions to toughen ourselves up, to challenge ourselves, is see if you can go a day without eating or half a day. I mean, people do that so much out of not out of choice, but out of.
Can I throw you
Sure.
underneath this?
You do it anyway, so go for it. Go for it.
I'm not gonna do that.
But,
I'll be nice today.
Okay, that'll be a nice change. You can do random push-ups. You can integrate some areas of your life that, for example, when it comes to using your phone constantly, you can try to, when you're tempted to see what that next notification is, realize that you are a slave.
Yeah, in take 2, we're just talking about Sal leaving his phone for a day. So he promised that on Sunday, this Sunday, what date is it going to be today?
It's going to be the 8th, but I didn't promise anything.
Yeah, the 8th on Sunday.
Uh-huh.
He will not use his phone for 24 hours. That was his promise. I know it hasn't been recorded on camera, but on take 2 he has said that he would go.
We will update you on that.
And we'll update you on that and see how it went.
I need to know what my reward is if I'm going to do this. But
I will make sure I will take away his phone. You have 2 phones, right? You will surrender both of your phones.
So see if you can summon up the inner self-discipline or get someone that will discipline you and make sure that you are becoming.
Will be your mother,
exactly, the mother figure in your life, so that you can toughen up. Life demands that self-made people are tough, and that's very true. You don't see too many successful people that are lazy or that indulge too much in the now. And yes, that may be the perception that they give.
Yeah.
Like Drake may have made a song called YOLO, but do you realize he put in so much work to get to where he is?
Are you sure?
Yeah, he did put in work.
I have another analogy of him getting paid.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
anyways.
So I'm just saying that there's work that goes beyond that. We are enjoying the music that he has created. We are basically the consumers. He is the producer. He
I
is.
don't consume his music.
Okay, good for you, but the masses do. And we need to be aware of what she does so well is filter what comes into our minds and be
Yeah, be careful what you listen to. Don't listen to modern media music that is on the radio. Like, try to turn it off whenever you're in a car driving to a destination. Do not listen to those songs because they actually do harm your mind.
It's so true because we instinctively try to go to the radio to silence the boredom. What I've gotten into the habit of doing is listening to audiobooks or listening to other ways of increasing or expanding my mind. So feel free to tap into any sort of, whether it be
classical music. We listen to Mozart. He has very good brain expanding music.
That's true. The thing is, it all depends on if you want a greater life. I mean, as Gary Vee says, don't implement anything that he or we're recommending if you don't want that greater life. But if you are someone that wants that, then absolutely we have to make these into habits, because if you think about it, if we don't do anything out of the normal, we're not going to get any results out of the normal. So we have to do these things differently. Speaking of doing things differently, he says that the world doesn't need 50,000 more Paris Hiltons or Kim Kardashians running after the newest Louis V bag. It needs another 300 Spartans. And he references Spartans as a beacon of stoicism, of self-discipline, and for
courage, and they're very courageous people.
And the way that they bring up their youth, their children, is quite intense. What are some of the principles and rules that Spartans have?
Well, the Spartan kids, they were given up at age 7. They weren't living with their parents anymore. They go to military types of schools where they make them into tough people.
There's actually 8 rules that they put in place for the rearing of their children, which is the children constantly have to prove their fitness, even as kids. They're placed in military education. Fighting was encouraged. Spartans were expected to be lifelong soldiers. Spartans were ritualistically tested on their skills. Food was kept scarce so that they were fed but not overfed. Spartan men were not allowed to get married until age 30, and surrendering in battle was the greatest disgrace. So they would rather perish in battle than to surrender. Ty also mentions that YOLO is for suckers, which is a very harsh way of accepting the reality, but Ty does not filter things or sugarcoat them. He gives the reality of what he has seen in successful people.
It is true though. We tend to live a YOLO lifestyle, most of us here in the States. Well, not only in the States, but in the world.
Yeah, in the world. As we get a bit more modernized and more convenient and more into this pre-made world, we tend to be much more lethargic and laid back, and that ends up costing us greatly. Some people that he references that were great at stoicism, great at toughening up their kids, were not only the Spartans, but these Apache Native Indians, or Native Americans actually, that's the politically correct phraseology, would cut holes in ice and not only dip their kids in there, but also bathe them in this ice cold water. Why would they do something insane like that? To toughen them up, to build up courage and bravery. Many people, like Saida, has been hostage to cold water, so they never fall into those sorts of situations.
Like you to your phone.
Like me to my phone. I am chained to my phone, and I desperately wish to be free. So hopefully your little experiment helps me as well. So much of our limitations is in our mind. One of the greatest examples that he and so many others reference is Roger Bannister, the man that has broken the 4-minute mile. Before Roger Bannister, scientists did not believe the human body could complete or run a mile under 4 minutes. Once he has broken that barrier, and completed a mile within 4 minutes, the rest of the world saw that it was possible, and so many around the world began to actually achieve a sub 4 mile. So it's just a matter of mentality. Spartans would randomly tie one of their own soldiers to a whipping post.
Yeah, and beat them up.
Yeah, just to toughen them up.
Yeah, and sometimes they would even die on those.
That is intense. I mean, compared to how we live right now, that seems like capital murder. But we have to, although not that intense, but we have to find ways to toughen ourselves up, because the world will push you around a great deal, and it's very difficult to succeed if you are not tough or persistent or have those characteristics that the lull and YOLO mentality people do not have. So
yeah, so what are you gonna do to toughen up? You're gonna leave your phone for a day?
That is a serious area.
I took a cold shower, I got sick. I've been sneezing.
That is real badass.
I've been trying to toughen up, but
that's a good start. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like,
let's see what happens to you when you leave your phone.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I might be ultra productive. I might, because I really
or get lost in the road as well,
Yeah.
getting to your house without your GPS.
Yes, these millennials. I am curious to test that out, because there is something called media fast.
Yeah,
So-
let's do media fast.
Well, we are already doing media fast. We're basically out of media starvation. But the cell phone is something that we're still
meaning we don't listen to songs?
No, music,
and
TVs,
TV, we don't watch
just saying electronics.
news.
Yeah, but very, very. Those are personal matters that we are working on to develop stoicism in our own lives, because we see that the world requires us to be tougher than we are today, and realizing that if we don't do anything different than the masses, we'll only get average results.
And we don't want to be average.
No, and I think if
And
you're
neither
watching
do
this,
you.
if you're watching this, I'm very sure you don't want to be average. So the question we leave you with is, what are some areas in your life you can be more stoic or tougher in? Is it health? Is it financial? Is it discipline with the amount of times you check your phone? Is it taking cold showers? What is those areas? Some of ours. Feel free to share some of yours so that we can work on this together. And we thank you so dearly for joining us on this episode.
Thank you for watching.
We will catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.